We're coming back here for Rogue Warriors versus RNG, getting a glimpse of the Forbidden City there. As we prepare to come into this series that, you know, is got a lot going for it.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yep.
RNG, we're not looking great before Chinese New Year, but that's unsurprising because they didn't have Uzi, but ever since he's been back, they've been on a tear, man.
Yeah, they have been, but like remember, this is a series that's just already started, so we're just gonna just talk right through it when we get into game. There's an echo on my screen, goddammit.
Woo!
There's an echo. There's a Vayne. There's a ZhaoYun's Kled. So there's a lot going for Rogue Warriors, going to what's comfortable for them. I want to see how the game goes already because the strategy for RNG has been the same in the previous series, so nothing has changed from RNG's end. But for Rogue Warriors, they're just throwing the gauntlet and saying, we're going to end this for what's comfortable. Remember this, Rogue Warriors, this is their Hail Mary. If they lose this series, they're out of playoff contention entirely. Because just remember in the last day of the LPL Spring Split, it's Suning versus SDG. One of them have to get a win. And just because of that, once they hit that magical 6-win mark for either of those teams, Rogue Warriors, they cannot go over Sino Dragons and Suning on that end. So for them, this means everything.
They need this game win. We're going to see if they can get it as we get into game one. RNG versus Rogue Warriors.
Wow, they're getting right into it. All right, LGD fans. But something that I need to get into immediately is because this series means so much for Rogue Warriors in this part. A lot of teams that end up losing faith. I wonder where they're at because a lot of these picks are just, once again, Hail Marys. This is what I'm the best at. Zwuji is known as a Vayne player, so he goes on Vayne. For ZhaoYun, who's been so successful on Kled as he's getting opened up on. And he's known for his Kled, picks up like as a last pick counter. And remember one thing we didn't even talk about. Killua is gone. Killua is not playing this. It's actually Huanggai who is played quite a bit in the LDL. He's played for Rogue Warriors LDL squad and is in the past, of course, played for another LDL team that's made it to the LDL Spring Split Finals. So for him, he's had a lot of experience in the academy portions of it. No experience at all in premiership play. So it's crazy that Rogue Warriors are making all of these decisions in their final set versus RNG as a deciding factor of whether they make the playoffs or not.
And like you say, it's a Hail Mary, but this is the time to throw everything on the table. If you've been holding the secret strat, now's the time to pull it out. If you've been holding on to, say, maybe like something like an Echo, now's the time to pull it out. And this is going to be a really big test, especially for Huanggai. As we said, this is his first time here on the LPL stage, going up against RNG, who are currently on a 5-game win streak.
Yeah, well, 4 games if we remember the 5th one being their loss to TOP, which was so huge. That one was such a fun game. If you guys haven't seen that series, it was essentially a playoff preview. Maybe it could be a finals preview, a semifinals preview. Please watch that if you haven't. But since that point, RNG has been on a tear. Xiahao has been exceptional on his Lissandra, Syndra, and early on in the games, Karsa and Xiaohu's worked so well in how they been able to play out early game that it's not surprising that Xiahao already has pressure early on. And one of the strongest early game junglers in the Rek'Sai now being there for Karsa makes it a lot easier for him.
And for Rogue Warriors, at the very least, we're going to be looking a lot at Zwuji, the upstart AD carry who really hasn't put in the stats for it, but he has been an amazing player. He's getting some early assistance coming in. Xuzhu, they've already gotten the stun down onto Ming, the Ignite ticking as well. That's an easy first blood, and Xuzhu didn't even have to do anything.
All he needed to do was hold his flag and drag. As long as he holds it for Ming's flash, they get the kill. This might be able to get pressure on Uzi. Really strong early game here for Huanggai and Zwuji.
Yeah, that was a beautiful CC combo to start it off, and they even got it onto Uzi again. But let's take a look.
So 2 things come into play. Not only was the binding wonderful, but Xuzhu just says, okay, I don't need to do anything other than just hold my flag and drag. Ming understands that and holds his flash. If he flashes there, he dies anyway. So good job on him to be able to hold that. But what that now means is Uzi and Ming are behind early in the laning phase. We'll have to see for how long that is.
We haven't even talked about how it's kind of, I wouldn't say BM, but daring. to pick Vayne into Uzi in any situation, even if you are known as a Vayne player. I mean, that's sort of internationally at least known as like the Uzi pick.
That's true. I mean, that's fair. It's just fun because this is probably the best meta for a Vayne. There's so much that gives it a great matchup. Rom also into the meta as well. That gives it. This time around, of course, it's going into Alistar, so it's a little bit more riskier. That's why they required a Morgana to be able to feel that safety net early on in the laning phase and later on in the game. But there's a time to ever play Vayne. It's certainly this meta where the recipes are all nice and balanced out. Going to Blade of the Rune King, and you can eventually go into Guinsoo's Rage Blade. Speaking of that, ZhaoYun is going to get hurt.
Oh, there's the flash coming in from AmazingJ. That should be enough to secure the first blood for RNG. Second kill of the game now picked up by Karsa.
Really good play from AmazingJ. Just flashes on to get him off of Skarl, because Skarl is what gives him that escape. So doesn't want to give him that chance. ZhaoYun also just holds on to his flash because he knew that after that he's just dead. There's no reason to blow it. So already really smart early plays being made by both teams, and a lot of just like both teams recognizing what to just give away.
Karsa already going aggressive there into the Raptor pit of Xuzhu, and he's gonna be struggling a little bit here with that aggression, especially because his mid laner is having a bit of a rough time into this Lissandra matchup.
That's expected. I mean, oh my god.
That flash wasn't though.
Definitely wasn't. He was definitely just looking for a Lissandra ultimate to follow up with Karsa. So he, good flash timing, recognizing that Xiahao was getting a little bit too close for his liking.
A little too close for comfort, and now AmazingJ gonna get pulled back. But not a whole lot of damage coming out from ZhaoYun, and this is so dangerous. You know, Rogue Warriors just kind of, I mean, this is the Hail Mary, yeah, but also I feel like their composition isn't as cohesive as it could be.
It depends. I actually really like this comp because not only does it give you a 1-3-1 chance, like later on in the game, mid-game, you start to put yourself into split push situations, which with RNG's composition, that's where they are the weakest. Like, Lissandra doesn't have the teleport to be able to match HuaTian, but also doesn't want to be in the same lane the moment Lichbane gets picked up by HuaTian, and makes it harder for them to be able to pick up the vision control that makes Karsa so effective with his pick. So that's where I actually see a lot of weakness in the composition for RNG once Rogue Warriors get rolling. And then when they collapse, you have Echo, you got Kled just going right in, and if there's ever a fear of getting pushed down, guess what happens? Morgana Black Shield on top of you. So it's a really cool composition if it gets rolling, and that's my fear, is that if it gets stopped early on in the laning phase, then you just never get the chance to put yourself on sideline.
HuaTian at least is going to be using those cute little Echo tricks that we all know and either despise or love, depending on if you play as or against Echo. Basing, immediately ulting back into the lane, giving him a little bit of extra sustain, a little bit of a free buy essentially for that cooldown, which is already like a third of the way back up.
It's a pretty hard early laning phase for the Echo, and so for him, like having teleport and ultimate to not lose minions early on, it's pretty damn cool. That being said, watch out.
Oh, there's the Frozen Tomb, and he is in a lot of trouble. Tries to drop the parallel convergence, but it's not enough. Too little, too late, and Karsa picks up the second kill.
Just gotta wonder where your own jungler is. Xuzhu looking for, you know, just farming up on his side of the camp, while at the same time Echo really needed that help because his wave was in a bad position and needed to fully push in. So it's one of those situations where if you look towards an enemy like a more experienced jungler, they would be right next to you, helping you out in the push. Not either like in vision, but looking for a counter gank opportunity, knowing that this was an option. In this case, wasn't, and HuaTian was isolated.
Well, if you look at the minimap, even if he had been there, Ming was roaming up as well. So at best, even if Xuzhu had responded in time, it would have been a 3v2.
True, but remember, it's just there for protection. Being there for a counter gank doesn't mean you're committing to anything. It's just saying that I am here just in case any trouble arrives, and if trouble is here, I can come in, trade damage, you get a way out. And hopefully the communication from bottom lane lets us know. So if anything is going way too good for us and we want to fully dive in and be like, oh, wait a minute, now here comes the Alistar, you don't have to deal with that. So I just think that Xuzhu just made the wrong choice of continuously farming when his mid laner needed the help.
Oh, Zwuji popping the ultimate. Final hour coming in. Ming is so low already. The flash comes in. A great condemn, though. And now Uzi's in trouble. That's the double kill. 3-0 for the Vayne at 9 minutes.
Salt in the wound, man. Even when Alistar was going in on what was a black shielded target, he's like, don't even touch me. Don't get near me. I don't want to smell you. Get away from me.
Begone, cow.
Just take a look at this because this was so sick. Morgana comes just in range to provide the black shield, so he wasn't even needing the help there. Oh, just beautiful to see anyways. And he was able to get the double kill on top of the Ezreal. What the hell?
All right, I don't know what happened there, but Karsa's dead now.
All right, you know, we take those.
So is Zwuji, though. So that's like kind of good for RNG.
But what was Karsa do? This is where I would love the replay. I know we get a lot of replays, but Uzi and Ming, reasonably, of course, after dying, were back in base. And I would only expect Karsa to possibly looking for a kill on Zwuji in lane, thinking he can get in and out. That wasn't the case, but we'll have to see what his mindset is. He usually doesn't go for any crazy risky plays unless if he's assured the kill, so I would have to expect that that was the case. Let's see. Yeah, he just thought he can get the kill easily. Remember, he's level 7, so he can, after this Q, can net the ultimate right afterwards. Knew he didn't even need it, so he was going for a 1v2.
Save the ultimate there to try and save himself, and now he's going for the Rift Herald, and this is kind of bad if Rogue Warriors don't see it in time. And with Xiahao pressuring onto Xuzhu, there's not a whole lot he can do to respond. Yeah,
and top lane's been pressuring up just as well, so this one should be a pretty easy one. Control ward being levied. Other teams, let's say if Clear Love was, you know, jungling in this instance, if it was EDG game, yeah, you would have the early vision there. You would be suspicious enough of Xiahao pressuring into your own jungle to early ward that, so at least you can be in a position to contest. Xuzhu figures this one out too late and gets caught out, so that's just now easy pickup from Karsa.
Ocean Drake still available on the map, however, and the Scuttle is going to spawn on the bot side. Zwuji's pushed in, so this should be an easy take here for Rogue Warriors in response.
Rek'Sai's top lane, so here's his trade.
Oh no, ZhaoYun, come on, man. Not twice in one game. You got to get out of this one, but he gets knocked up. He's still trying to fight it as long as he can. He has the pocket pistol, but it's not going to be enough to save him. Ultimate from Karsa finishes him off. 4-1-0 for the Land Shark.
It is so hard to get away from a gank from Rek'Sai, even if it's under turret. Remember, you got a tank in the top lane, so if you're ever tanking it up, press ultimate, swaps the turret aggro on towards the Poppy in this case. They didn't even have to get to that point. It was just ZhaoYun in a really tough position.
Now he is 0-2-0, and now soon to be down a tower in the top lane. So RNG are just winning entirely off this top side of the map. And I feel like it's okay that Uzi's behind a bit and that Zwuji are 3-1, because when you get to that late game, Karsa's just going to be able to knock that Vayne out. Yeah,
currently a lot of the pressure from RNG side is through Xiahao, Karsa, and AmazingJ. The damage will be coming through from Karsa and Xiahao, so at this point in time, I'm not too pressed if I'm on RNG side. They already have that gold lead because of all of that. And really, my question is now, where does AmazingJ go? Because he's the type of top laner that once he gets any pressure topside, he always thinks about what play can he make like across the map. Right now, he's holding mid, but that just goes to show that he's going to like have this mid lane push, then come topside if the tower is, you know, if the wave's going to push in. And Xiahao recognizes that, and now he's going to be looking for a play bot lane.
Now, Xiahao sitting towards the bottom side of the map, unseen. Well, till now. Ward didn't quite expire just yet, but Ming will get some vision on the blue buff. It looks like 4 members of Rogue Warriors here.
Yeah, here comes Echo, so ultimately, Uzi should be able to get the turret aggro, but no play should come from it.
Xuzhu was spotted there by that scan. And
oh no!
ZhaoYun, come on, man!
Get over here!
Alright. Bear Trap going to slow him down, but AmazingJ still on the chase. This is nasty here in the top lane for ZhaoYun.
Whenever you have a Poppy start to take over a matchup, it becomes a beautiful game. Like, that's what happened when BLG's ADD went wild on that Poppy game versus Xiao's Suning. That was a real tough game for Xiahao. And it's getting to that point where AmazingJ's nets so much early gold, gets Sunfire cape, and he's already looking to threaten around mid lane turret.
Yeah, and you mentioned you mentioned ADD on the Poppy pick, but AmazingJ also, those two are the most prolific Poppy pickers in the LPL.
Yeah.
ADD 4 for 4 in games. AmazingJ 4 for 5, looking to make it 5 for 6.
They've been real successful teams around what is a core of team fighting. Now, that being said, both those teams, it's going to make it all interesting when they go up against each other in a match every week. So I would love to see how RNG goes up against Uzi. Who gets the Poppy pick? Like, that for me is going to be exciting. But for at least RNG going up against Rogue Warriors, you're going to get that little bit of taste, that preview of what Poppy can do.
Yeah, 0, 0, and 2. She's got the Sunfire Cape, as you said, able to shove out like crazy. She's going to be threatening onto the Scuttle Crab by herself as well. So this allows a lot of freedom in the top side of the map. You've already pushed down the tower. Now you got the Scuttle Crab. Granted, Baron's not up for another 5 minutes, but if you have that control, that pressure over the top side of the map, you can start looking towards the bot, and the Dragon is spawning in just a minute 30.
And RNG's been a type of team, I know you're talking about bottom lane, but they can easily segue that pressure into the mid lane. You can already see how antsy Xiahao has been trying to look for plays on top of HuaTian. Now with Echo, he is super defensive. He has the ultimate that keeps him alive a little bit longer. Of course, his own W, the shield, the stun around him. All of that makes it harder for RNG to make a pick mid lane. But he missteps once, and you have Karsa and AmazingJ looking to make an advantage on you. So we'll have to see how well HuaTian can play, because that means mid lane turret being up or, of course, down, and more vision control there for RNG.
Now, there's towers left, but there's not going to be a top laner left in a second here. Xiahao looking once again onto ZhaoYun. ZhaoYun's just been bullied this entire game. Has to use the charge away to defense, and now he doesn't have the flash either.
Every time, instead having to use his ultimate to get the hell out of there. Feels bad. The whole purpose of the pick is to just be able to run in, create some havoc, but
a lot of damage on the Huanggai.
Yeah.
But he's been performing really admirably here in his first game in the LPL, especially alongside Zwuji. You know, 3-1 and 0 for that Vayne, and a lot of that's been supported by the picks, the binding set up by Huanggai. So I want to see that continue. I want to see that keep going, because you really need Zwuji to be more fed than he is if you want a chance of winning this.
Here it is.
Teleport coming in. HuaTian ults through the parallel conversions, gets the stun and the shield. That's some Echo mechanics right there. It will save himself and the tower.
So well played, and that was what I was talking about. They're trying so hard to look for the pick on mid lane, but the Echo was picked just to be able to keep that one alive. So it is so hard for RNG to be able to get that tower, knowing that Echo is just there constantly, not only being able to defend the tower, but himself.
Especially HuaTian showing a real amount of skill on this pick, being able to outplay that dive, and with the low relative cooldown of his ultimate as well, he's going to be able to keep doing that.
And this just calls back to the earlier weeks where Rogue Warrior comes in, provides their picks. I know ZhaoYun came in a little later and was able to buff up the early laning phase for top lane in comparison to Xiahao. But also, HuaTian has just gotten better mechanically. I think that he has gotten so much more confident and comfortable on the stage. Remember, he is a rookie. Literally every player right now on stage for Rogue Warriors is a rookie, so the fact that they are playing better week 8, there's a reason for that. There is just that factor that they don't have any nerves any longer. And naturally, HuaTian has gotten better. Now he's able to keep up in lane versus Xiahao and Karsa's constant pressure, while in the early portions of the week, he was feeding relentlessly. So I think for Rogue Warriors' perspective, the fact that the early game is even against RNG is such a wonderful thing with how good their team fights have been in the past.
So if they keep going and they stay in this even state, do they have a chance in the middle? Like, is it favorable for them, or is it just kind of even and they just have to keep out playing?
Ooh, I think it's favorable to Rogue Warriors. I know there's always that factor of Poppy. How effective can Poppy be? How many people he can take out of the fight with his own ultimate? So I will never know for 100%, and neither do any of these teams, of how well these team fights are going to go, depending on how Poppy ends up playing it. But based off how ZhaoYun, Zwuji, and HuaTian should be able to dive the backline with relative ease, if they either don't get the right call, then guess what? Morgana shield should make it easier for you. I think it's just difficult for Uzi and Karsa to be able to survive these fights.
Well, now it's going to be a little bit easier, because if you look, AmazingJ has finished yet another item, and it's going to be the Righteous Glory. So he's going to be able to charge into these fights and do a lot of disruption there.
He is the one saving grace right now with the amount of gold that he was able to receive earlier. And it's essentially him and Karsa that are ahead for his team. So I want to see what AmazingJ can do to be able to set up for fights for his team, because honestly, Like, what can Zwuji do if Poppy is on top of you? It just depends on how often the shove can go through. It seems like he's not even going to prioritize shoving top and going mid. He's just literally going to look for the kill on ZhaoYun instead.
So rough. It's just absolutely being chain ganked here.
I just don't agree with it, though. I think the earlier plays made sense. But from this point forward, Kled should be able to remain alive underneath his turret for a long amount of time. And it doesn't really continue to push the lead that RNG currently have. What they need is this mid lane turret. They made one attempt at it and have never come back since then.
Well, and now that both AD carry and support have been rotated for both sides, at first it was just Rogue Warriors, it's going to be so much harder to push it in, because before you just had to deal with an Echo. Now you got to deal with a Morgana, a Vayne, and potentially if Xuzhu stays in the area, you're going to have to deal with a Jarvan as well.
Yeah, there's a lot to deal with, and the timing is going to be dicey. One thing that I always want to point to is whenever we go towards the CS difference stat, like 20 minutes in, that is past laning phase and is more of an indicator of like, how does resources get put on a carry post laning phase, as well as how did the laning phase itself go? Like, Uzi got bullied in the laning phase a little bit, and he's now ahead of Zwuji in CS just because of how perfectly he's been farming and the resources have been coming towards him after the laning phase itself.
Rogue Warriors need to delay this fight because Zwuji is coming in. He's got his Rage Blade. He's got his Blade of the Ruin King. He can do so much in these fights. And now that he's here, Rogue Warriors have the opportunity to engage or counter-engage.
So good news for RNG is there is no way for RW to flank them. ZhaoYun coming in from the front, and there are all these wards on RNG's side to the left that will catch him if he ever tries to. It's just difficult for ZhaoYun. Now they're fighting for it so they can have an easier time defending mid lane. But realistically, at that point, RNG could start just chipping at them, poking at them until they get the mid lane tower.
They do have a lot of poke, especially coming through Uzi on the Ezreal, who's completed now his Mana Moon and has the Iceborne Gauntlet, as well as the second tier stacking. So his damage is starting to really add up.
And that X factor is the, you know, the Rek'Sai. If you are sieging with a Rek'Sai just underground, what can you do? Like, you're talking about the flank coming in from ZhaoYun, but he's going to be seen. Tremor Sense is going to be able to find you. So one thing that people are not going to recognize until, let's say, near playoff time is how effective Rek'Sai is at being able to stop these flanks from the Vladimirs and the Kleds of the world. So I'm going to be interested to see how Karsa ends up playing this when RNG start to step forward into the outer turret and inner turret.
That's sad. If Rogue Warriors ever do successfully get a flank, things are looking really good for them. I mean, you have Xuzhu, who is building into the Knight's Vow as well for Zwuji.
Yep.
So he's going to be really well set up. He's got the Black Shield, he's got the Knight's Vow, he's potentially going to have the Redemption as well if Huanggai decides to go for that. So he's got a lot of defense headed his way, and he's 3-1-0. What
I would like to see from him because of that is start playing these fights front to back. You should be so much more confident that Zwuji will be able to pump out the damage. He just built out his Rage Blade, his Guinsoo's Rage Blade now, which means that I don't know how long AmazingJ is going to be able to see him, but I want to see that stat check. If a team fight ends up happening, that Karsa will not be able to deal with Zwuji. And if AmazingJ gets on top of him, he will have the Morgana Black Shield to be able to hold his own, and Uzi will need to match. He still doesn't have his second tier item just yet. So of course, this 22 minutes, he won't have it. But that's where the damage difference is coming from. You don't need to look for a flank just yet.
He won't have it, but you know, he's getting awful close. He's picked up the Lost Chapter as well, and you know, HuaTian, I want to see a fight break out for Rogue Warriors specifically, because HuaTian has both the items he needs to be like a real playmaker in these team fights, and this is when things like Champion Mastery become a factor, because if he can do the kinds of things we saw him do to dissuade the mid lane dive, that'll be a really good team fight for Rogue Warriors, but might get a chance at this Infernal.
True. I think they'll give up the Infernal just because of the lane assignments. But look at where Echo is going right now. This is what I like to see, because while we've been talking about the team fight so consistently, like during the laning phase, we were saying that Rogue Warriors 1-3-1 is really good, and that Xiahao sure is pushing up the side lane, but he's relying on Karsa to be alongside him. In this case, I'm not too concerned about ZhaoYun being able to get the kill, but he has Titanic Hydra. Long enough lane, it should be able to be enough. So I'm concerned with the Xiahao being on side lane that long, you can already see him rotating towards the team.
It's just a matter of how the 3 goes for Rogue Warriors, because if they're able to put out pressure with it, that's great. Your 1-3-1's going fantastically, but if they get poked out because of Uzi's ridiculous poke, things don't look good.
There's also that added asterisk of how well Poppy's been doing so early on, that even with Echo looking to match, is still having problems. So Poppy is the most secure right now against Echo, and I really am thinking, well, let's say Lich Bane. If he gets Lich Bane, then maybe you could trade up against AmazingJ and try and push him out.
He's going to be getting close to that, and he's got the Blasting Wand already, so he'll just need... Okay, he needs a bit. He needs quite a bit. He needs the Aether Wisp, he needs the Sheen, so that's a little bit away, but...
And by the time he finishes his Lich Bane, he's going to have to deal with the...
Oh, wait, here's the engage. The flank coming in from RNG. It's a good one, but Zwuji's still safe. He has the Black Shield on him. He's putting out so much damage. Karsa forced to go golden. One more auto should be able to do it. Oh. Karsa gets low. An amazing chrono break there from the Echo, and Zwuji is just going mad in the team fight. Rogue Warriors have gotten 4 kills so far. Could this be the full ace on the Xiahao? He makes it out alive, but that's going to be the potential Baron.
That was so clean from HuaTian. Not only was he playing that excellently, but Zwuji was just firing off with no one on top of him. Out of all of the scenarios that I have listed, there was nothing there for RNG looking for a flank. Nothing told me that that was a good idea. Perhaps they thought that Rogue Warriors were looking to double down on a split push scenario, but ZhaoYun came to the rescue with his ultimate and made life hard for RNG.
And I think Rogue Warriors just did the opposite. Nothing told RNG it was a good idea, and Rogue Warriors told him it was a terrible one.
So Kled comes in quite easily, and on top of that, not only did ZhaoYun be able to save his team, there was no initial threat on Zwuji. In fact, RNG opened up on the Morgana, thinking that they can get a kill onto her immediately. Even if they do, even if Morgana's dead, there are multiple carries that are just already dealing with the tanks that are frontlining. So AmazingJ didn't even have that much of a chance.
This Echo needs to be banned next game.
Really?
Okay, let me explain a little bit. Let me back that up.
You gotta calm down.
First, let me make sure Huanggai lives. Oh, he's just going straight in for the engage. He looks like he went for the Shurelya's first, and it's paying off big time. Xiahao going to be caught out here. Z-Drive Resonance and Zwuji going to be enough to chunk him down.
Good Dark Binding gets the kill for his team. So Huanggai, I mean, this is his debut. Think of it. LPL debut, week 8, up against RNG. I thought it was rough for Solo going 100 Thieves, but this guy, this is tops the cake, and they're winning against RNG.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sort of helps that he's doing well. That debut is gonna be rough either way, but if you're doing this well, no one's gonna blame you for it. 0-0-9 now. He's picked up the Shurelya's to help his team go for the flanks, go for the engages, and they are just running amok with this Baron.
At this point, if you're RNG and you're trying to figure out how to come back, it really is just based off of waiting until Uzi gets his Archangels. I think Seraph's Embrace. Just having it upgraded. He needs the damage. He won't have the magic penetration because he went for the Ninja Tabis, but you can hear the RNG fans calling for it. They want RNG to be powered up and to be able to fight back versus our Rogue Warriors.
Rogue Warriors aren't going to let them have it, though. They've taken hold, and they are not going to let go. They've been struggling this entire game, but Zwuji now 5-1-2. HuaTian as well, 3-1-2 on this Echo. He's gotten that Lich Bane you were talking about, and they are so strong. The Baron buff has only a minute remaining, but Ocean Drake up in 30 seconds.
One thing I was concerned about, just before the team fight went in there, I thought that even when Lich Bane comes up, he still had to worry about being in side lane versus AmazingJ because he had his Kindle Gem and was moving towards the Spirit Visage. But man, he has 2 kills, 2 assists. He is so ready after that to be able to now move towards the magic penetration that he required. He doesn't even have to worry too much about the specific 1v1 because he has Baron buff minions coming down the lanes.
Rogue Warriors are playing this Baron buff pretty beautifully. They're getting as many towers as they can and just making sure they get all the freestanding gold across the map, give themselves a little bit more room to work with after it falls off.
Yeah, bottom lane is completely being given away, but that's only because Rogue Warriors are confident that they can move from mid to top lane pretty quickly. I can actually stall out the waves, make it so they crash at the same time. If that's the case, then RNG are going to lose damage on top lane turret. We'll have to see which ones they give away.
There's an engage here. HuaTian might be looking for it. Parallel Convergence is dropped, so this is a good window for RNG, but That Lich Bane just destroyed the tower.
And the moment they saw Xiahao did not go on his E, you're like, all right. Okay, yeah, let's just go for it. There's nothing right now that is stopping Warriors from continuously moving in.
Zwuji looking for the damage down onto AmazingJ. ZhaoYun is still in there. Not going to be popped off of Scarl yet, and that is a great Shurelius to get them to safety. Xiahao not going to follow up on the Glacial Pass, so they're going to be just fine.
They have at least one Ocean Dragon, which means they can stick around for a little bit longer. Mana coming back on some of their units. Xuzhu is also picking up HP. They're going in.
There's the ultimate from both the AD carry and the top laner, and now they put a lot of damage, but oh my god, that Keeper's Verdict did so much. Rogue Warriors forced out of the fight, but HuaTian still in there, still full health thanks to the Chrono Break. They should be able to chase down if they want, but they lose one and decide to back off. ZhaoYun no longer in play.
That's that X Factor, man. Poppy, you don't know how much gold value is going to be lost when she pops out your members. Who is it going to be? How many people drop out? When Zwuji got lifted up into the sky, that's when RNG were ready to continue forward. So really well done from AmazingJ to make it count.
Now Rogue Warriors rotating around to that second Ocean Drake. They want to make sure they still have the chance to secure it. Once Zwuji gets there, I suspect they're going to go for it.
It's a good idea. Good timing too, because the Baron's coming up in about a minute's time. Right now, if I'm RNG, you have to prioritize pushing out mid so you can get some defensive vision around Baron. You can't get offensive vision, you can't continue, you can't just hold your own there. It is so hard to play out in that open space against what is Echo and Kled. They're just gonna dive right onto Ezreal pretty damn easily. So they just need to be able to at least see that it's happening. Once it starts, they can look for a defense. Take a look at this, because man, AmazingJ is the person that they think that they can kill. They go all in on it. In fact, look at Xuzhu leap from across the jungle to be able to get the Cataclysm on 2 members. So all of this looked good. It was then when Poppy Ultimate picked out 2 members, both the Morgana and the Vayne. It was just way too difficult for Rogue Warriors to like get a win on this one.
Rogue Warriors, you know, without Zwuji, they just don't really have a team fight. Yeah, HuaTian can do a lot by himself, but they need the supplemental damage of the Vayne. And they just didn't have that in that fight because, again, AmazingJ with that ultimate was so on point. But now they have the double Ocean Drake, so when they have those fights and they have to back off, they have a chance of regenning up before the re-engage comes in.
That being said, all of that time being bought, Uzi is inching towards his, I would assume to be Gunblade, but either way, we've gotten to a point where he's already able to finish his Seraph, so the damage is starting to come up. But if I'm comparing the damage that Ezreal has, albeit poke damage, if he gets primary targets, then that's another discussion already. Like, if he's getting squishy targets, doesn't matter what happens. But Zwuji has the space to work with and looks like the clear favorite this game.
5-1-2 on that Vayne. Still hasn't really gotten any kills since the last time we touched in on him, but he's gotten a lot of items. He's got the QSS, he's working towards the Infinity Edge, and once he gets that, his damage is going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, and here's my worry now. Because if Rogue Warriors want to be able to clinch this victory, Baron is a key to that. But they can't just focus and tunnel in on taking Baron buff. They need to recognize that RNG is going to contest that. And look for a fight to just jump right in. Kled Ultimate is so good at being able to just dive right into targets. Karsa cannot handle that. He's already descaled from this point of view. He won't be able to go into the back line. There's way too much protection there from Huanggai's Morgana. He, at this point, is just there for vision and to buy maybe a little bit of time for his team. So if you're Rogue Warriors, you have a strong team fight. Don't try and make it a Baron 50-50. Don't give them a chance to land any more damage on you when you're trying to contest for Baron. Just go for the fight.
So they're going back, resetting into the 1-3-1. But the problem is, if they're going to back, RNG have threat on the Baron, they can reestablish vision.
That's fine. Like, teams should be comfortable of being able to like give away the vision that they have because they're going back to buy control wards anyways. So the only worry is if RNG will be like trying to rush Baron at that stage. But if you're properly staggering your back timings, you're completely fine.
Zwuji picking up the red buff. He has finished. It's not an eye edge. It's a Bloodthirster.
Bloodthirster's nice. But what I love is that now Uzi has the damage with his gunplay. So he has his 4 items on his Ezreal. You should expect him to deal some strong damage on primary carries. I love the Bloodthirster here because if he gets poked out by the Ezreal, he has the ability to heal it right back with the double healing items that he has.
Yeah, that's a ton of lifesteal, and especially the shield at the beginning of a fight is going to help against any burst that comes in from like Xiahao, or maybe if Uzi tries to poke him out.
They're starting this, but Kled is not in the area. RNG doesn't have a good idea of this, so they don't know if they're a man up.
They don't know about the potential of the flank. They don't really have a whole lot of vision around this. HuaTian goes in. He gets the parallel convergence. AmazingJ with a good keeper's verdict, but it only lands onto Xuzhu. And now HuaTian ults back with the chrono break. They've picked off AmazingJ. 53 seconds until he's back up. So at best, for RNG, this is going to be a 4v5 fight.
That was the fastest I have ever seen a tank just get blown up. ZhaoYun, though.
He's fighting for second place in that category there, Raz.
Oh no, this is a Baron 50-50.
Oh no, it's happening again. Ming, Zwuji needs to turn onto this and start putting out damage. He's gotten one GA popped already. He's focused now onto Xiahao, onto Ming. Zwuji still chasing out onto Uzi. He's going to be taken down by his own signature pick. The teleport coming in from ZhaoYun.
Just as I said, they turned for the fight. All members dead except for that Rek'Sai, but what can he do? Already seeing that they're turning straight forward. Rek'Sai's in no man's land. This should be the game for Rogue Warriors.
Lichbane, Echo, you've got a Fed Vayne, and this should be game number 1. Going over to Rogue Warriors, the result absolutely no one expected, but they know how much this means to them. They know how much they need to win this series, and they are willing to put it all on the line, leading to a game 1 victory against RNG.
In the cage, in Beijing, Rogue Warriors, with all the pressure on them, they take the victory. That's huge for the team. A lot of people, when they see this draft, they think, oh, okay, they're throwing their game away, they're throwing their chances at playoffs gone. Especially no Killua, who hasn't been performing poorly, has been performing very well with Zwuji. But Huanggai comes in his debut in game 1, and he does so well with what's the composition's focus, what their plan is. So, wonderfully done. I mean, Rogue Warriors are now just one game away from clean sweeping RNG in Beijing.
And look at that gold. Like, it was starting to go RNG's way, and they're like, we got this, we're confident. And then Rogue Warriors suddenly just absolutely flipped the game on its head.
Yeah, the game stalled out. They didn't have Uzi with the lead. It was AmazingJ and Karsa. What needed to happen from that point forward was you got to play through mid lane run. But guess what ended up happening? They went for Echo 2 times, and he was able to come out ahead. He was able to use his ultimate, teleport right back on, hold that mid lane turret. That was his one job. His job was to keep that mid lane turret up so they can protect their jungle up top side and bottom lane from falling. And I think that he did a wonderful job at doing that. So great job to HuaTian being able to keep the game going early on, because then Zwuji came in and suddenly the composition was looking really good. ZhaoYun was super helpful in teamfights too. He was like put behind the entire early game, and he recognized when to concede pressure, and he came in big.
I was pseudo-jokingly saying that they should ban out the Echo earlier in the game. You're like, I don't know about that. But after seeing the result of it, I feel like that might be something to put on the table to try and slow the momentum of Rogue Warriors.
I think if RNG are on either side, I was about to say just blue side, but I think you can do it on red side too, is you can ban the Echo away if you're confident going up against any of the major picks that Rogue Warriors can pick up, just so you have an option to look for a mid lane dive. So I would give you that one just to see how confident they are against going up against Rogue Warriors.
I think one of the bigger problems, though, for RNG overall was that they lost the early bot lane. And a lot of that was through Huanggai's picks. His first game here in the LPL, and he manages to win lane against Uzi and Ming. Who is this guy?
Huanggai comes in, debut performance for Rogue Warriors, picks up the MVP. That is crazy for me. For people that don't know who Huanggai is, literally comes in from the LDL. He was originally on Shadow Cream, a spring split finalist for the LDL. They did not come in. They obviously didn't promote. It was Sino Dragons that ended up promoting into the league. And so he ends up going on to Rogue Warriors Sharks, which is the LDL team, ends up fighting their way in, which is really cool for Rogue Warriors because we call this team a developmental team, which is fair in a lot of cases. These are all rookies across the board. And so the fact that they're willing to give him a chance because their LDL team is performing well is nice to see from the organization. They saw something in him and already picked up that win.
Yeah, he's demonstrating it, and hopefully they're going to be able to keep the momentum going forward to get a historic upset against RNG, but maybe RNG is going to bite back in game number 2. We'll be back in a sec with just that.